not like you really have a choice, right? For whatever reasons, all noble, you gotta get the degree and you gotta get the money. Gotta get out of the dorm. How 3 people fit in a 10-foot by 12-foot box, I don't know. The scholarship covered my dorm living costs, but goddamn, 40 square feet per person simply isn't enough. Not to mention that 6 guys share one shower for arguably the least hygienic period of a young man's life. So for my sophomore year, me and my roommates needed an upgrade. I had enough cash to last the first 2 months of rent and living expenses, but would have to survive on a diet of rice, beans, oats, and chicken breast. That's what I did for the first 2 months of my sophomore year. Things you don't need to spend money on. Coffee, make it at home. Gas, take the bus, it's free for students. Booze will find you. And if I didn't find a job in 2 months, I knew that I would have to ask for money from people that have their own problems, and I didn't even want to think about that. So my first task was to determine the type of job. Requirements, no experience, decent pay, and not have to work more than 30 hours a week at. The best option is a restaurant job. And I had friends that were making $100 to $200 a night doing this. So if I worked on average 4 nights a week, I can make $400 to $800 a week, which gives me $1,600 to $3,200 a month. My rent was $574.33, and everything else added up to about $600 extra on average. So where to look? I figured of course close is better. So if you draw a line between the FEA department and my apartment, and bisect that line, plot that point, and draw a 2-mile radius around that point, that was my zone. I knew that at that range, I could minimize travel time to maximize time on everything else. Full-time college is a time suck, and I also needed to keep my on-the-thread freelance career up and going. I called every restaurant that had servers in that 2-mile radius, about 50 total. I made sure to ask the waiting staff how much they made on average per night and how flexible the scheduling was. I knew that I'd have to get out of a shift if need be, last minute. Projects for school, freelance, whatever. So if they were flexible and tipped on average more than $100 per day, I put them on the list. The list was now down to 12. Not as many as I hoped. You'd be surprised by how few of serving jobs tip well. We were 2 weeks into my 2-month window, and things were going okay. I put together a resume, and all I had listed was like cam op gigs and internships and editing gigs. And every restaurant I walked into to drop off my application, I walked in with a suit, even the dress shoes. That 19-year-old wasn't taking any chances. So I started by going to the In-N-Out off of Los Coyotes. I know it's not a serving job, but they actually pay well, and I did the math and it could work. I have a quick interview with the manager. She concluded the interview, shook my hand, and said she'd get back to me in about 2 weeks. I said, great. End of month 1, nothing, no response. I had about $1,500 in the bank and time was running out. I thought I had the job. In-N-Out is like the dream teenager job, right? And she liked me. But yeah, I never heard from her. So I moved down the list. Ralph's, Wahoo's, Tilted Kilt, El Torito, the other In-N-Out. I was getting desperate, breaking my own rules about who I'd apply to. I would take anything at that point because the 2-month window had passed. I had $300 in the account, was sick of rice and beans, and my car was acting up. It was stressful, and suddenly we entered the survival zone. This is the type of anxiety that permeates everything, and no one really understands while you're going through it. You don't really sleep that much, you don't really enjoy anything, you just think, damn, I'm pretty stupid for getting myself in this situation. But I had one last place to interview at. The last one on my list was a place called Ruby's Diner.
Let's go to Ruby's.
It was right on the edge of the circle. I remember so clearly walking in that day. They say, "Hi, welcome to Ruby's." And I walked up and it was all clean and shiny. I had on my shiny dress shoes and my half Windsor tie with a blue button-up shirt and carrying my jacket. Growing up, I loved Ruby's. The peanut butter cup shake, the Cajun fries. Give me the guac on the burger, I'll take it. I asked for the application. A server came up to me, shook my hand, looked me up and down, and said, "You'd be perfect." Gay guys like me. I don't know what it could be, but listen, I'll take it. I came in the next week with less than $180 in my account and had an interview with the manager. He was a hardworking and smart guy, and we talked for about an hour. And god damn it, I nailed that. What a Relief. This was honestly the best possible job I could have gotten in the area. Great hours, great flexibility, by far the highest tip out of any restaurant nearby, and the path to get to that serving level that I could rise up quickly. If you have no serving experience, you have to climb your way up. Host, the person that seats you; fountain, the person that makes the milkshakes; expo, the person that brings out the food; and finally server. And then you're like making the big bucks at server. There was only one catch: that damn uniform. Why on God's green earth would you subject a man or a woman to that kind of attire? So after rationing, eating only rice, beans, chicken, and oatmeal, going to school full time, my car breaking down, which I didn't mention, and losing around 30 pounds to stress, I did it. Employment USA. I got to server in about 8 weeks, and the tips just rolled in, and I was good. Honestly, it was luck. When you have no experience and you're trying to get a job, the business really has to have an opening. And luckily for me, 2 people had just left. So from October 24th, 2014 until January 29th, 2017, I worked at Ruby's Diner. And honestly, working there, I have a whole slew of stories of blood, tears, and angry customers who thought their avocados were too ripe. And then I brought them other avocados and those weren't ripe enough. And we went back and forth for about 6 avocados. Like, people are really ridiculous at restaurants. You'd be surprised. I even got accused of stealing someone's credit card because they forgot what their card looked like. But listen, going through college while working is tough, especially when you're trying to build a freelance career at the same time. If you were in a selective track, like you had to apply to this track like I did, there were only 40 of us in this program, then you will feel lonely. You will have to sacrifice time and time again. Sacrifice opportunity, social events, summer vacation stuff, all of that. People come into these programs with like a $4,000 a month allowance from mom and dad, and some don't even have their own bank account at all. And if you're in a track like this, it's likely that you will be in a small minority of kids who are working to put themselves through the program. Furthermore, and unfortunately, there are studies that say that the working college student falls behind the rest. They're more likely to fail in developing the skills needed to work in the field in the first place. You really do end up missing the extra workshops, the field trips, the seminars, not to mention the social pressures to keep the spending up with your peers, buying boba and cocktails you can't afford. It's sometimes hard to be chill in that environment. There's no room for chill for the working student. You chill, you die. My main advice is, while going through this, check in on your mental health. If you don't know how to cope with your stress, I really recommend trying therapy. Don't take it for granted, because if you lose your emotional and mental health, you lose everything. You destabilize everything and you simply can't perform. Personally, I don't think working put me behind. Luckily, I was able to apply this hustling sensibility to my freelance career, which already had a little bit of a base going into college, and it paid off. My happiest day in college was when I locked in a deal to direct a video for an underwear company. I actually found that client and the DP in the same bar with no connection to the school. The effort to keep myself fed, graduate cum laude in 4 years, and build a freelance career gave me pain tolerance, time management skills, and the ability to hit goals. So if you're working and in school, don't compare yourself to the rich kids who get paid by mom and dad to get drunk while solving riddles in daycare. Just know that when you graduate, you can apply that same system that you put in place to survive the ordeal into whatever's next. To a lot of college students, post-grad life is a shock. But for you, it's like 35 hours a week of your time are handed back, and you know exactly what to do with them. And the sooner you can deal with this feeling that you have to struggle and they don't, the better off you will be, because you will encounter unfairness for the rest of your life. Someone always has advantages that you don't, and you always have advantages that someone else doesn't. So use all your advantages as best you can. Don't be ashamed to use them. And know that whatever room you step into, you belong. And also know that the person who's really freaking out in the room is not the one who worked their ass off to get there, but the one who had a lot of help along the way, because they're questioning if they really earned it. The person who worked knows exactly what miracles they had to pull off to get there.